Hey guys, I'm Jax and I just saw Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. I'm not 100% sure why I did, but I did. I watched the movie, and I didn't like it very much. I didn't like it at all, in fact. I came to this horrifying epiphany, this realization at the end of this movie. Oh, really, it was more like this question that arose in my mind that I couldn't find the answer to. What is more pathetic? This film, or the fact that I had nothing better to do on a Friday night than watch it. Maybe it's because part one didn't feel like a complete movie, so I wanted to see the conclusion. I wanted to see the final act of the movie. And oh boy, did I see 2 hours that I suppose in lots of ways could be described as a third act. I'd also describe it as not really a movie, because it didn't really feel like a movie. Didn't really feel like anything happened. Didn't feel like any of the characters that were underdeveloped were more developed. It didn't feel like the action got better. It didn't feel like there was this big epic conclusion. It kind of just stopped. There's like a moment where a character dies and I went, I guess it's over then. This film is an exhausting thing to like behold and look at. It is a tiring experience to just see so much Zack Snyder-ness, but with no emotional weight to it. The film is so hollow. The characters are so one-dimensional. To even say they're one-dimensional is kind of an insult to one-dimensional characters. Because a one-dimensional character can be really exciting and fun. They've got one whole dimension. They're like, what's under, I guess, no dimensions? But that sounds like that's going somehow into the fourth dimension. Oh, I don't think that makes sense. I didn't do math, and it's late. It's not, but I'm tired. I've been up since 4. It's not really an excuse. I could just not do this review. But I feel obliged to not have wasted my 2 hours of my life. It's fine. I don't know. It's like not as good as the last one, but it's a conclusion to that movie. I guess it feels the same. The characters are exactly the same as last time. The main chick, Sophia, whatever her face, she's good. There's some sad bits where she's like, I'm sad. And I'm like, yeah, she's acting. That's good. She's acting. The whole film has completely lost its sense of scale and scope and ambition. That being said, I watched Rebel Moon Part 2 The Scargiver, so you don't have to. Let's do some spoiler review or whatever. Who cares? I'm going to say a bunch of dumb stuff that happened in this movie, and you're going to go, what? It's probably not as dumb as that. No, it's dumber. So the film opens, and Anthony Hopkins' robot, who's not in this movie enough, that CGI looks great, have him in the movie more. He's like doing narration. He's like, hey, remember in Rebel Moon 1? And he just lists off a bunch of characters and a bunch of locations, and it's all incomprehensible gibberish. But just from his tone and the way he says stuff, it's like, oh, he's giving us a recap of the previous film. And it's like, so you don't trust the audience enough to remember anything that happened in your first film, so you've got us recapping it in the first 2 minutes, but only via like a robot speaking random gibberish names and gibberish places, and it's all just incoherent nonsense. So we're meant to have not remembered the movie enough, so we need a recap. But also, we remembered enough that these names are going to spark our imagination, and we're all going to be like, yes, huzzah, yes, that character. It's just a really weird way to start the movie. It just like threw me. I'm just like, this is such an ugly, awful way to start the movie. Ugh. And then what follows is the villain waking up and he's all like, oh, the Scargiver, because the main character gave him a scar, so now she is the Scargiver. And it's like the name of the movie, so I guess they want to like make that important and be like, oh, it's the Scargiver. That's the hero's name. She's the Scargiver. But he said it so many times in such a short amount of time that it became a word that like didn't have any meaning anymore. I'm just like, stop saying Scargiver. It felt like so tryhardy. He was like he was trying to give himself a nickname in high school, where someone would just be like trying to give themselves a nickname, and you're like, stop doing it, man. No one's gonna give you this nickname that you've self-proclaimed yourself as this nickname situation. And he just felt really awkward and cringy, and I felt bad for him. I felt bad for the Scargiver. Oh no, here I am calling her the Scargiver. I guess the nickname paid off or something. All I'm trying to say is the movie's called The Scargiver, and he says The Scargiver too many times at the start of the movie, and then it pans out, and it's like, Part 2, The Scargiver on the screen, and I'm like, Already within 4 minutes, I hate this so much more than the first movie, which I already didn't like. I don't know how it did this. It just was so ugly and cringy and clunky and awkward. It just felt like it didn't flow. And the last film didn't really flow. It's just a bunch of random derivative moments of other films crammed together in the first half of a half-baked Seven Samurai knockoff script. Like, it's nothing. It doesn't even look that... Well, it looks much better than this movie. This movie's so ugly compared to the first one. I can really only remember the hippogriff scene, so maybe it's just that scene I liked. Maybe the rest of the film was ugly. But this film is super ugly. Except, ooh, fun, the next bit. The first 45 minutes of this movie until the last hour, which is just an action scene. Who knows what happens, just explosions. But there is some sweet, sweet Zack Snyder slow-mo. And it's all farming related. Yeah, there's slow-mo farming for about 30 to 40 minutes. It is crazy. At first, it's like, oh, like they're walking through the grain, like the grains, the leaves of grassy kind of wheat or whatever. The gladiator shot. It's the gladiator shot with the hand, you know, the wheat shot of the gladiator hand in Gladiator. And then, like, what am I talking about? My brain's broken. And in Rebel Moon, we get that, and there's like the shot, and we're like, oh, this is the shot. It's from Gladiator, of course, because this is just a film taking up shots from other films, but in one big film. It's like Tarantino, but the worst, bad, terrible way, where he hasn't like done his own spin, hasn't made something new and interesting and fresh with it. He's just like, remember the Gladiator? And like, sure. And he's like, what if slow-mo? And so the hands are going through the wheats, but like really slowly. And it's like, I suppose technically that looks pretty cool. And then someone like chops some wheat with a sword, and it's like, just like slow-mo, baby. And then people have got like baskets of wheat, and they're like throwing it up in the air for some reason. I was going to come up with a reason. I'm like, I don't know what the reason was. And all the wheat is like, it's slow-mo, and it just keeps going. It went for so long. And then someone said something. I think they went to bed and they woke up and they're like, we've got to harvest more because this is a bug's life. And we've got to get the grain ready for the cockroaches or the big bugs. You've seen A Bug's Life, you know, the big ones. Are they cockroaches? I don't know. There's no scene in this movie that's as good as that bit where he's like, gets the one. He's like, hey, I got this one walnut or whatever. And he chucks at the guy and the guy's like, ow. Ha ha ha, that didn't hurt. And he's like, yeah, one didn't hurt. And then he busts open the thing and 1,000,000 things come out and knock him down. And he's like, see, metaphor. One, nothing. All of them, lots against the few. We can't let them uprise or whatever. I'm misquoting it, but you all know the scene because it's the best scene. God, that movie's good. God, I wish I'd watched A Bug's Life tonight. I think I'd feel fresh and invigorated rather than kind of deliriously unhinged and like, I feel like I'm asleep but also awake at the same time. I haven't even been awake for that long. 4 a.m. this morning, worked all day, watched this movie. Well, it's late. It's later than I'd like. So, back to Rebel Moon. There was some... Wait. The slow-mo farming. There was that. Slow-mo farming. Lots of slow-mo farming. It was all pretty exciting stuff. I'm going to be honest. I left the room, and I did forget to pause it. And then when I came back into the room, I realized I hadn't paused it, and I went... I don't think I'm going to, like, go back. I think I'm just going to, like, continue on from wherever we're up to. I could hear it. I could hear it from the other room. Like, I wasn't listening. But I could hear it. It was, like, in my peripheral kind of... So, the next part of the movie, I'm trying to remember. One last scene of note before action scene, and then it's just an action scene. And it's if you like Zack Snyder's action done like this, you'll like it. But for me, it's like some of his weaker action. So the back half is like, it's just action. It's nothing. There's like, action can be cool and exciting. It's like a big war scene can be exciting and cool, but it's all about those little character moments. Those little moments with the main characters that you love. But our 7 cowboy samurai bugs, who are they? They're not even characters. They're not even one-dimensional characters. They're not people. They're nothing. They're just these things that are there sometimes. And they don't even feel like heroes or legends, or they don't feel like a cut above, really, than any of the other, like, townsfolk. There's one moment in the fight where one guy, like, he's got a gun. He's like, bang, 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 bang. And then he sees the guy who's like, I got the scar, but you're the Scargiver. Edge screen, like the budget Dario Naharis. Bajidara Naharis is like the hero, the villain, sorry, and he's like running up to the ship. He's going to escape because it was an ambush. He's like, oh no, I'm losing. And he's running up the ship, and this guy's got a gun. He's like, I could kill the main villain, but that would be crazy because I'm just like some random farmer. And he throws his gun on the ground. He just runs at him, and he tackles him onto the ship. So now he's on the ship, and he's just punching him away. It's just like punch. It's like action, cool. He's clearly going to lose because the villains have lost this part of the battle, but there needs to be some kind of loss for the heroes. You know, yin and yang and all that stuff of action. You know how it works. Storytelling. Ugh, whatever. But it's just like, you had the gun. What happened to the gun? You just throw the gun on the ground and you charge at the guy and tackle him. It's just stupid. It's just dumb and stupid. But, you know what? It was so stupid. It's the only thing I really remember from the fight. But, sidetrack. Forget the fight. Forget the action at the end of the movie. Stop talking about it. That's the thing I really want to talk about. This movie has maybe the most hilarious, lazy, dumb, just contrived dumb reason for us to care. Just imagine quotation marks, but like they're in bold and italic and a different font that's even bigger than the font in the middle. Like just really big italic. Care about these characters, because we don't care about these characters. They suck, they're terrible, they're boring, but there's a great big dinner scene and they're all drinking, all our 7 samurai hero cowboy bug thingies, whatever's, all our hero warriors, they're all like, oh, we're drinking, ha ha ha, and they're all talking about what they need to do in the battle or whatever, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Jimon Hansu, just like out of the blue, he just stands up, he's like, everyone shut your mouths. Right now, we all need to have emotional backstory monologues and explain why we're here to fight for these people, because I guess I can't remember. I feel like I remember in the last movie it was vague at times where someone was like, why are they on the team? Why do they want to fight for these villagers? They're just like, oh, a 7 Samurai movie ripoff sounds good. You son of a bitch, I'm in. But so Jimon Hansu, he stands up, he's like, but we didn't explain our backstories and our histories and our character motivations to why we fight for these farmers and why we're going to fight to the death. We didn't explain it in the other movie. So right now, I am going to explain to all of you my tragic backstory. And then he finishes and they all go, and there's silence. No one responds or reacts. And then just the next character's like, then they stand up. Like, I guess I'll do my tragic backstory now. And they do their tragic backstory. And then, like, there's silence, and then Jimon Hansu, like, looks at another one, he's like, you speak now, you say your tragic backstory now. And they're like, I have a tragic backstory too, and it's super tragic. And it just, like, every single character just does the tragic backstory. It's so weird, except for our main hero, the Scargiver, because she already did her tragic backstory, but it's even more tragic, because she's evil. Oh my god, there's so much crazy stuff in this movie. I forgot, right at the start of this movie, the Scargiver, I'm loving the nickname now. It's great stuff. Scargiver, she's all like, I'm having a flashback, or I'm telling a character, or something's happening, I don't know. And she's like, my tragic backstory is that I was a bad guy, and I shot the princess, but she shoots her, and I can't tell if it's because it's a PG edit or not, but like, you don't see her get shot, but then all this like, magic explodey dust of like, it looks like the princess is like regenerating, like Doctor Who style, all these yellow stuff's like, coming out of her, and it's like, what is going on? And it's so weird because there's this big kind of Caesar's betrayal. Like all of the Roman guys stand around him and they all stab him. Like the king is like, I'm the king, what are you all doing? And all the guys, like all these Roman kind of senators surround him and they all whip out knives and they all betray him and stab him. And there's this like epic like string violin orchestral song like score going on. And you're like, well, of course there's a great score going on. The score's pretty good, you know, but it's like non-diegetic sound. Like it's, you know, a soundtrack for the movie. Because it's a movie. But then like pans out to a wide shot and there's like an orchestra like in the room. In this like room. There's not like this big, like, this isn't like a dinner party where the orchestra would just be there. They're just like weirdly in the corner and they've all got these weird hoods on with some kind of painting thing, some kind of, I don't know, like probably the sigil of the king or whatever, but they're all just like playing the strings and everyone's stabbing each other and she's shooting people and it's going crazy and the orchestra is just like smashing out a banger, this banging strings orchestral thing that's thematically appropriate for the slaughter and the betrayal of the king and the murder of the king. It's bloody insane. I don't even have words for it. It's crazy. It's so dumb and funny. It's insane. Also, at the end of that scene, Scargiver, loving the name, she's like, bang, 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 and she kills, like, all of the goons. And then she comes up to like the main betrayer of the king, and she's like, oh, and he's like, oh yeah, and he was like, now you're betrayed. You betrayed with us, but now we all betray you, and we're gonna blame the king's death on you for reasons. I don't know, maybe she explained it. Who cares? But she was part of the betrayal, but now they're all betraying her and they're gonna blame her. And so she kills a bunch of goons, and then she goes to kill the guy who she was betraying with, but now is betraying her. And then for like just no reason whatsoever, I guess because maybe there'll be a third one. Well, hopefully not. Well, hopefully, I don't know. It's hard to say. He'll be in the third one, I guess, or whatever. But she doesn't kill him for no reason and just like runs out of the room. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's hot. It's hot, juicy nonsense. I just want to stop talking about this movie, and I have decided I'm going to, like, if you see this edit, I don't know who would and why would you. And I thank you for watching, but I am not going to edit this. I'm not going to put images in. I'm not going to put video in. I'm going to make this such a quick edit and give it the attention it deserves. Because this film feels like they didn't put effort in, even though I know they did. And I'm being very mean and brutal, but it's late, and I want to stop this, and I want to have a beer and watch the football. I'm tired. But the last hour is just nothing actually. Who cares? Who cares? Get to the final bit. There's a bit where a tank rocks up, and they're like, oh no, we thought we'd won, but there's a big tank. What are we going to do? And then the robot from the first one, Anthony Hopkins, he narrated the start where he's like, recap, do you remember the last film? Names of things that happened? Now do you remember? You don't remember? What are you, an idiot? You idiot. And then Anthony Hopkins rocks up, he's like, I'm a robot. And that bit's actually sweet. Unironically, I thought it was cool. He lands, he punches them all, he's like, I'm a robot, I punch. And then he like kills the tank or whatever. And it's sweet. The robot design looks awesome. He's wearing a crown now. And he's got like a cape. I don't know why. It's like kind of mysterious in the way where I'm like, I almost kind of don't care why he's got the crown. Is he some kind of self-proclaimed robot king? Or is it probably some kind of backstory they cut? Because there's an hour out of this movie apparently. Netflix are like, oh, you've got an extra hour of like R-rated material, like your actual finished product of a film? Why would we want to release that? This is Netflix. I had a thing, but I'm just so baffled by the idea that Netflix don't want to just release the final product. Why get Zack Snyder to do a Zack Snyder film and then not let him Zack Snyder all over the place? Like, yes, this film is a Zack Snyder film through and through, but knowing that each of these two parts have a full hour of like R-rated content that fleshes out the world, and they do feel like they need to be more fleshed out. This feels super long, but at the same time incredibly short. It's one of those things where it feels so long because it's just nothing. And you're like, why should I care about any of these characters? If there are 2 extra hours in there that's all about stuff that would make me care, then in the action, I'd be like, the guy did a thing. Because I'd know something about that guy. Rather than like, he's the hippogriff one, right? And she's the sword one. She fought the spider. But that's all you know. Oh, also, sword lady who's fought the spider in her flashback, which is like, tragic backstory. She chops off her own arms and puts on cyborg robot arms that like taught her to fight. That's pretty cool, I think. That's something. Or it's nothing. I'm not sure. I think it's really cool. I think. It's hard to say. I don't know. This was a pretty terrible film. I feel like the way I've described it kind of sounds entertaining. At times I'm like saying words and I'm like, that sounds like it's not terrible. But I'm so sad and tired and depressed. I felt like I was like forcing myself to like watch this thing. And then it ended and I just went, why? Why? Who cares if I've seen Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver? I don't care. I could have just stopped watching it and then gone to bed at a reasonable hour. But now I'm like awake and like I watched it and it finished. And I'm like, well, now I have to do a review. Otherwise I watched it for no reason. I can't just watch a movie for no reason. What? Watch content and not make content out of that content? What am I, an idiot? Oh my God. I think something snapped in my brain as I watched this movie. Oh my God.